Hi guys, it's Jimmy Flick here for Apex Racing Academy. This is our Nürburgring GP track guide for the Mercedes-AMG GT4 for week 10 of the Sports Car Challenge by Falcon Tire. As well as these track guides, we're also giving away the entire Mercedes-AMG GT4 data pack for free this season. So that includes all of your qualifying and race setups, your B-lap and O-lap files, so that's your reference lap files that you can add into the sim and use as a delta file to compare against my lap. We also provide the replay files as well, so you can have a visual of what's going on in terms of my lap as well. And it also gives you access to our Discord server where we host our group coaching sessions on a Tuesday evening. All you've got to do is go over to apexracingac.com, link is in the description to get the data pack for free for this season. In regards to the circuit, Nürburgring GP is a tricky circuit for the Mercedes. It's not the best track for it. The McLaren and the BMW this week will actually be a little bit better, but it's a stable car, solid option, handles quite nicely, and it's pretty well balanced across the board. It's just there are slightly quicker options this week, but without further ado, let's get stuck in. Another reminder, guys, that you can get this season's Mercedes-AMG GT4 data pack for free this season over at apexracingac.com or by following the link in the description below. So over the start finish line to start a lap here at Nürburgring. So this is with the Bez Weck chicane, just to bear that in mind. So for turn one, using the tire mark here on the left hand side as a guide, we're going to brake pretty much right at the end of those, and hard straight line braking over on the left hand side, spot the curve on the inside, and we're going to just sort of gently walk the car over towards that point, leading off the brake once we get down into first gear and get pretty much onto the white line. Any tighter to the inside and the car sort of bobbles and bounces on exit, and then any wider, then you're just running wide through the corner. Trying not to track out super wide on exit here, so just open up the wheel, but not all the way out to the left hand side, because we want to open up turn two as much as possible. So to the right hand side we go, and we'll just rev it out in second gear, no need to grab third. Basically once you're into the limiter and the track sort of levels off here in this sort of section here, then we'll just cover the brake slightly just to get the nose to tuck in, and then once on the inside curb we can pick up our throttle. Patience with it, because the track sort of falls away a little bit and it's quite easy for the back end to want to step out. Up into third, and then on exit, get as close to the track limits as possible. You just can't cross over the white line with all four tyres. Really short run then into turn three, so we'll just roll it down the hill just a little bit further, and looking to brake sort of in this area here, so you can spot where the white line sort of tapers away towards the left hand side. This sort of area is where we want to get onto the brakes, and then it's just a dive for the apex, so down into second and one more then into first. Not too hard on the peak pressure, just sort of let the car sort of float in towards the inside line. And then the really important bit is get the left side wheels inside of the red and white curbing without then invalidating by putting the right side wheels over the white line. So take this corner as tight as we can, gentle with the throttle pickup, making sure that we stay nice and far over to the left hand side to open up turn 4. Even though we're opening the corner up, we want to take this pretty shallow so that we can maximize the run off the corner as well, and get as close to our track limits as possible and take the shortest distance that we can through the corner. So as we load the left side wheels, just lift off the throttle, roll it through and take everything that we can off the inside. So half the car cannot go beyond the edge of the red and white curbing. I'm pretty sure that is the track limit, although iRacing's limits do sometimes baffle us. On exit, as soon as we land off of the curb, we can crunch the throttle and then mind the AstroTurf on the left hand side. We cannot have more than half the car cross over it, but once the Astro ends, we have complete free rein to walk the car out as wide as we'd like. Up into third, and again we've got another bit of Astro here just to be mindful of. So flat out, up into fourth gear, keep the car over to the right hand side to start the second sector on the lap here, braking pretty much at the end of the cones here on the right hand side where the access road ends, and be a small dab of brake and down one gear into third and slowly tip the car in, picking up the white line. The inside curb I would generally advise against because it's just going to push the car wider than we want, and we want to use the camber to help pull the car around. So smoothly does it with the throttle pickup, let the car rotate, and as soon as we get straightened out and sort of in line with where the curb starts on the right hand side, then we want to get onto the brakes. A lot of people will try and bring the car over to the left hand side here, but I don't really rate that as an option in a car with as little grip as the GT4s. This is more reserved for like a high downforce open wheeler where you have the ability and the agility to bring the car over to the left hand side. I'd rather carry the speed through the left, knowing that the right hander down the hill opens up on exit. So only across towards the middle of the circuit, and then down one gear into second. Pick up the white line. Once the car's settled, we can feed our throttle through, open up the steering, and use all of the runoff available to us. Even if you're clipping into the gravel, that's absolutely fine. It may just hinder your run ever so slightly, but track limits typically are not a concern here. Down the hill towards the Dunlop hairpin, spot where the curbing opens up on the left hand side. We want to maximize this and then hit the brakes at the same time. Pretty firm on the brake pressure here, braking in a reasonably straight line, but also still sort of pointing the car in towards the corner. Trying not to go inside of this seam here that I'm pointing out, and not going any wider than the seam then on the left. So keeping the car basically in this sort of groove, this sort of like second groove almost. So into second, as soon as the nose tucks in, we can pick up our throttle and get the car to sort of come pretty close back towards the white line, picking up the earliest full throttle that we can, open up the steering and track out using as much of the exit curbing as we need. Up the hill then towards the Schumacher S. So this is a tricky one to get right, but if we get the car up onto the outside curbing consistently, nice and early here, then it's quite comfortably flat out in all conditions, or all dry conditions at least. Don't need to worry about the rain for this week. The important thing is just to avoid taking any of the curb on the inside here, and that's just going to hinder the run. The diff might slip just a touch as we come up through the hill here. So I would advise staying off it. We do have enough downforce on the car to take this completely flat out, and just be mindful of clipping the gravel on the way through the right-hander. That can give you a slowdown penalty. Over to the right-hand side we go, and then spot an area on the access road on the right-hand side that you like, basically like where the curb, or not the curb, the tire mark here sort of stretches out at its widest point or closest point to the white line. We can brake in that sort of area here. Important to avoid the off track on the right hand side here. More than half the car cannot cross the white line on entry, but medium pressure here, down into third, you could grab second as well, and then take as much off of the inside as we can. With taking it in third gear though, I can be aggressive on the throttle, and from here try not to track out the entire way across. Similar to the exit of turn 1, we need to bring the car over to the other side of the circuit pretty sharp for the next corner. So over to the left we go, and as soon as we can get onto the outside white line, we'll get onto the brakes and gently float the car in third gear. Really aggressive though with the throttle pickup here. I had a small lift here because I was maybe just a little bit too aggressive, but inside white line, try and avoid the inside curb, although if you do clip it, it's not the end of the world. And then once you feel like you've got the confidence to crunch the throttle, then feel free to do so. Arcing the car out. If you end up touching the gravel on exit, that's actually okay through here. Just make sure that half the car does not cross the edge of the sort of green curbing here, and then you should be good to go. And then down and then back up the hill we go towards the final sector, and with the beeswax chicane that we have to negotiate before the final corner. So over to the right hand side we go, and I'll pause it right about here. So we're braking sort of in between where this stain and tarmac is, where it's around about 75 meters from the corner, noting where the 100 and the 50 are, and we're going to brake just ever so slightly after that, so split the difference between that and the 50. Pretty firm on the brakes, down into fourth gear, and then slowly tip the car in. Track limits here are very, very difficult, so a little bit of caution through here is fine. And then through the right, what I find is more than half the car cannot cross the edge of the red and white curbing here. But through the left, it is a little bit trickier to spot what iRacing actually want from you. So small little lift as we come through the right, just to make sure that we don't run wide. And then arc the car all the way out onto the outside curb. And then for the final corner, spot the change in the colour in the tarmac here. And at this point, that's where we want to get onto the brakes. So down into third, and then come off the curb before grabbing second. If you try and do that, or grab second as you're coming off the curb, chances are you might lock the rear axle and have a bit of a tank slapper, and that's no good for anyone. So hold it in second, feed the car back in towards the white line, and pretty much when the pit wall starts on the right hand side, you can introduce your throttle. Just need to be patient with the throttle here because it's quite bumpy on exit, so that's why it's not as aggressive of a snap on the throttle here. But if done correctly, the Merc turns quite nicely through a corner like this, so we don't need to worry too much about the track limits on exit. Just make sure not to end up in the gravel on the way through. From here, short run to line, and that's a lap of Nürburgring in the Mercedes-AMG GT4. That's all from us this week. Make sure to go over to apexracingac.com to get your free Mercedes-AMG GT4 data pack for the season. For further questions and advice and information, join our Discord server, which you can access with your subscription. We also host a group coaching session on a Tuesday evening where you can ask me any and all questions regarding the GT4 cars, not just the Mercedes-AMG GT4. So that's it from us this week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.